Hey, Chad Peterman here. Welcome to AI Trade Talk, a new series on Can't Stop the Growth. We're redefining the future of home services with AI, one conversation at a time. In each episode, we'll dig into real-world strategies, innovations, and opportunities that AI is creating for home service companies like yours. Let's jump in and explore how to work smarter, serve better, and grow faster.
Welcome to AI Trade Talk with ZyraTalk. My name is Brad Scruggs, founder and president at ZyraTalk, and this is a show where we interview industry leaders in the home service space to learn ways that they're growing and what they're doing to handle certain challenges. As an AI company, we're also focused on what's coming in the future, so we're going to focus that in the conversation as well. So whatever you're doing, whether it's driving, working, maybe you're doing dishes, or just having us on as background noise, sit back and enjoy the show.
Excited to be on here. Excited that we're partnered together in this venture too. So thank you for all your support and excited for the value that you're going to bring listeners with your guys' background and what you guys are doing. The home services space is an exciting one. It's one that I've been in for, I guess it'll be 14 years. So Peterman Brothers was not always Peterman Brothers. My dad started the company back in '86. I joined in 2011, my brother in 2013. We are headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have 11 locations across the Midwest, a couple in Ohio, a couple in Kentucky, and mostly in Indiana. So we do all three trades, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical in the residential space. And continuing to grow our company, partnering with great people, and hopefully growing great people of our own, which keep our company moving forward.
That's awesome. And how many employees do you guys have?
We are right around 500.
Okay. So significant size. That's awesome. And then I guess we can start the conversation just about growth in general. Talk about where you guys were, let's say 5 years ago or so, and where you've come now. Because I know your story a little bit, but it's interesting for the viewers. I know you guys have grown a little bit through acquisition. I know you guys have grown a lot organically. So if you could just elaborate on that and even some challenges, because I know with growing pains like that, growth like that, there's natural growing pains. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had kind of a rapid rise. When I joined in 2011, so I guess it's taken us back a little bit further than 5 years, but 2011, we were about a $1 million residential company when I joined. So small. We did a lot of work in the multifamily space, new apartments, rehabs, different stuff like that. And then right around 2015 is when we kind of made the shift to residential, kind of the residential model, if you will. And so, through that, obviously 2020, which would take us back to your initial question of 5 years ago, 2020, we hit COVID, like a lot of home service businesses, really saw just explosive growth through kind of COVID. So 2020, 21, 22, 23, and then obviously as demand is kind of, normalized, seeing some of those challenges and different stuff like that. Through those COVID years, yes, we did some acquisitions, we did some greenfields, did a little bit of everything. 23, we did 3 acquisitions outside of what we kind of deem our like 1.5 hour window outside of Indianapolis. So majority of our locations are about an hour and a half away, door to door. We made acquisitions in South Bend, Indiana, which is about 3 hours from here. And then 2 in Ohio as well. In 24, we greenfielded Louisville, Kentucky, and then earlier this year we greenfielded Lexington, Kentucky. So have done a little bit of everything. I would say our model today is more greenfield strategy than anything, and that is a lot to do with the fact that we are very centralized. So call center is centralized, dispatch is centralized. Obviously, all the back office functionality is centralized as well. And so that makes it maybe a little bit easier to greenfield when we already have all the operations, as opposed to acquiring another company and then having to kind of unwind it a little bit to make it fit within our organization. That's not to say that acquisition would never be a strategy. It will. It's just trying to find the right time and what we've found is setting up a location first and then making an acquisition is sometimes a little bit easier. So
Okay. So in terms of operations, I think this would be interesting to a lot of people. Business, viewers, I'm sure their businesses are growing and people consider acquisition. I've seen acquisitions happen and they're operating out of two different service titans, or maybe the company they acquired is using House Call Pro and they're basically in two different CRMs. When you guys are doing that and you mention everything being centralized in one location, are you just operating all in the same spot, like one service titan account? Um, or just like operationally, if you could elaborate on that a little bit, because yeah, there's
yeah.
a lot of moving pieces for you guys.
Yeah, so when you say growing pains, we've done it a couple of different ways. Some ways that we wouldn't do again, but we learned a lot. So today we operate out of one tenant in Service Titan. So
Okay.
when you look at our dispatch board, it's really really long because every location has their own business units. So South Bend has a plumbing business unit and HVAC service, HVAC install, all the way down through our 11 locations. So it takes a while to scroll through them, but it also makes it easier on our dispatch team and our call center because they're just working in one tenant. And so we use Service Titan. I don't know if I mentioned that, but um, they operate out of one tenant. All the calls come in. They book them into their respective business unit and location and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's how we operate today.
Got it. Yeah, appreciate the elaboration on that. Very interesting. And then as far as generating demand, I mean, being able to generate demand for 11 locations. Are you guys just doing traditional stuff with PPC? I'm sure you guys grow a lot organically. Billboards, I'm assuming. Actually, I was in Indianapolis and I believe I saw some stuff. But yeah, what are the main channels for demand? And I know we talked about like Facebook when we were in person, because everyone's always trying to think of what are some different ways that I could generate leads versus these traditional channels. So yeah, curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the important thing to take into consideration is while we have 11 locations and it's all the same brand, there are 11 different businesses. In fact, they are more than 11 different businesses because each location has multiple trades. And multiple trades mean different needs at different times at different minutes of the day. And so I'm not going to tell anybody anything, crazy about how we drive leads. But I will tell you
Sure.
kind of the secret sauce in that. So, how we drive leads is just like anybody else: pay per click, LSA, GMB, TV, radio. I mean, we market just about on every channel. What I would tell you about that is I think where a lot of people miss is that marketing is not so much about making it look really good. It's about measuring and being able to be agile. So when I say that, it's you should know what your ROI is on every lead source you have out there in the market. If you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're throwing money away. You need to know which sources are performing. One example is we do a lot of TV, and so we made a strategic decision. I think it was end of the year, I don't know, sometime, and we were like, well, let's try to hit like a new audience on the same station. And so we took our spend and we moved it. I'm kind of making this up, but
Yeah,
the
yeah, no
story
worries.
makes sense. So I think
Yeah.
we were typically in the morning, like morning news and all of that stuff. We moved it to like the evening, like, hey, let's catch a different audience. And what we saw is we saw lead volume just drop tremendously. Now, the great thing with TV is you'd be pretty agile. Like we saw that over a 3-day span. We're like, all right, flip that back. But what we knew is we were watching it. We were measuring it and we were saying, hey, this actually works better in the morning than it does the evening. And it can get very, very granular, but I think your marketing team needs to be really, really, really focused on the data. Are you measuring each lead source? Do you measure it all the way into the call center? We actually do 2 points of checking. So we have a unique phone number or tracking mechanism on each piece of marketing, but we also ask in the call center because what can happen is they call in off of a Valpak ad, But when you ask them how they heard about you, they say, "Oh, I see your trucks running around the city all the time." Well, to
Yeah.
me, that is not a Valpak lead. That is a truck lead.
Yeah, totally.
But we track them both ways, and you kind of look at them and make sure that your lead sources are lining up. So I think that's vitally important. I think the other piece of marketing that I think a lot of people miss on is mining your customer base. Like we all, want to toot our own horn about our membership base and how many members we're driving and all of this stuff, yet we don't do anything to mine that base. And especially in the shoulder season in an HVAC business, you better be contacting that customer base. You better know who has aged equipment, who has an open line on their financing. You better know all of these things because those are the customers that you need to reach out to. When it comes to filling our boards, just because we do a lot of marketing doesn't mean the phone always rings. When it's 70 and sunny, people have their windows open. They don't have their system turned on. So how are we going to get calls on the board? Because what I know is if I don't have calls on the board, I can't produce any revenue. I can't hit budgets. I'm not going to grow. And so I think you have to be very intentional when it comes to marketing. Marketing is not just like spraying and praying. Well, we're on TV. I don't understand why the leads aren't coming in. It's like, well, what are you doing proactively to get those leads on the board and make sure that you guys have stuff to do?
Yeah, I think you saying that is extremely important, mining your existing customer base. And I've seen data in other companies' service sites. And in one in particular that I remember that was really eye-opening to me. They actually have someone in their call center. All she does is outbound all day. And she generates the company about 90 grand a month, so over $1 million a year. And she's pulling these lists. So one example would be people who had their water heater installed 8 to 12 months ago. So she's calling them saying, hey, it looks like you're due for a water heater flush. Let's also walk through a quick home checklist. What else do you need? Do you have any leaky faucets, toilets, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, she books a ton of jobs. So being proactive, just echoing the importance of that for anyone who's a business owner in the home service space, you got to be proactive. Leads, for the most part, they're not just going to come to you. You got to do something to get them. So great insights there. Yeah. So let's talk more about the call center.
And I think it's an area that is often overlooked because a lot of these business owners, especially in the contracting space, they came from the field, right? They were a technician, they were a salesperson, they started a company. Well, the one thing that they weren't was, in the call center. And I think it is just such an overlooked place, and there is so much money to be made in the call center. We made a change earlier or late last week where what we saw was we were like plumbing was like super busy. And so our capacity board said we were full. Well, then I looked at the call center data and I'm like, hey, we missed out on like 3 water heaters. Why did we miss out on those? And they're like, well, we were full. And I go, okay, well, we need a system where we can override the capacity when certain call types come in. I think about this in HVAC. We have another one that if your system is over 10 years old and you call and that capacity board shows 0, the call center has the ability just to override and go ahead and book that call. Just book it. Book it and we'll figure it out. We'll reschedule something. We'll figure that out. So you need to make sure that, if you're telling your call center, I can take 20 calls today and you fill up 20 calls and it's 10 a.m., you better be ready to override and reschedule quickly, or else you're going to miss out on a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And there's that term dispatch for dollars. If there's a water heater job come through and you have something scheduled for a leaky faucet, seems like a no-brainer to reschedule that for a later date and just override it. So
Absolutely.
makes a lot of sense. So when we were in Indianapolis, I knew you were talking to the group about just call center and how so many things leak through the bucket and missed opportunities. There's botched calls. What are your thoughts on AI in general and AI answering the phone? And for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what we do here at ZyraTalk, we're essentially an AI answering service. And I'll talk more in a second about some of the revenue that we've been able to attribute to phone calls that likely would have been missed. But just wanted to get your thoughts before that on what's your sentiment on AI answering the phone?
Yeah, I think it's a tool that we have to really, really investigate. again, when it turns off 95, you don't have enough technicians. You also don't have enough call center reps to take all the calls in a timely manner. If someone is waiting on that phone line for probably more than, shoot, 3 rings, they're probably going to hang up and call somebody else. They're in a state of panic. Their air conditioner does not work. So they don't really give a crap if they really like you. They probably don't even give a crap if they're a member. They are going to call whoever can come out there and fix their air conditioner so that they can be cool.
Yes.
And I think with AI, there are a number of use cases where I think it is really useful. One, after hours. So if our call center shuts down, I think at like 10 p.m. Where we don't have a live person answering, and we don't take there's not a whole lot of call volume between, call it 8 and 10 p.m. But we still want to have a live person there that can answer those phones. Well, after 10 p.m., we kick it over. Well, if anybody knows anything about answering services, none of them are any good. And the biggest reason why none of them are any good is because they're all busy at the same time. If
Yes.
it's 95, they're taking an influx of calls. Well, they can't staff for that either. So it's kind of it's not great. So we've been using AI to answer after hours for probably, I don't know, call it 4 or 5 months now.
Yeah.
And it works really well because, again, you're not talking about a massive number of calls, but when they do call, can you get them booked with an AI agent? And I listen to some of the recordings, and they're funny, right? It's Emma is our after hours person, and people think that she's a real person. I'm like, she's great. Always shows up on time, no HR issues. She's great. And she answers the phone for us. And so I think that's a place. I think there's also a place of when your hold queue reaches a certain point, you kick it over to an AI agent who can at least answer the phone and get the call booked. Like, let's at least offer something to the customer to talk to. I think another area that we've really leveraged this in is being able to route calls. So if you look at your call
Yes.
volume, and I've talked to a number of people about this, and it seems to be that the common number of actual leads versus customers calling to reschedule or confirm that their tech is on the way, or robocallers or telemarketers or whatever, is about half. So if you take 10,000 calls, 5,000 of those are going to be like not leads.
Yeah.
So what we've done is created a routing system to where we're essentially using AI to route calls. So if it looks up your account in ServiceTitan and sees that you have an appointment booked today, more than likely you're not a lead. You're just calling to see, hey, when's the tech coming? Or I need to reschedule or something like that. So send that to AI. Like, I don't need my really good CSRs trying to reschedule an appointment if I can do that virtually and send the customer a link and they can just reschedule or whatever it may be. And so we're routing a lot of those calls that we've deemed as, probably not leads, so that we can keep that volume off of our CSR so that they can be, anytime they pick up the phone, it's a bookable lead is the hope.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So to unpack a little bit of that, one thing I wanted to mention, you said if someone's on the phone for 3 rings or on hold for like a minute or even longer, the
Yeah.
drop-off rates are so high, and we actually have data on that. So once, drop-off rate is pretty steady, but up until about the 42 to 45 second mark, it's like a hockey stick. It starts to go up very quickly because either the phone is ringing or they're on hold, and they're just like, screw this, I'm calling the next company. I've got no heat or no cooling, and I just need to talk to someone. And then the other piece of data that I always like to share is businesses are missing anywhere from 15% to 35% of their phone calls. And it's a pretty big range, but no matter what that number is, that's a big problem. That's a lot of revenue leaking through the cracks. And what we're able to do now is attribute revenue to these AI phone calls. And we have some clients where we're showing over $500,000 a month that they're generating with AI. And what's really cool now is we're matching back the actual phone call, where the originating phone call, to the value of the job. And I shared one on LinkedIn, I think it was yesterday. It was almost a $24,000 job. So being able to show that data, because we get questions where it's like, oh man, can AI actually handle these higher ticket jobs? And it was a call where the guy needed his whole house repiped. And big job, obviously. And AI handled it perfectly, got him booked, and got a technician out there. So
Yep.
curious on your thoughts with just other use cases for AI in the home service space. I know there's ways to automate things with thermostats. In my eyes, I think HVAC units are going to be mini computers in the future, and you as a company will know, okay, something's wrong with this unit. We need to be proactive and reach out to the homeowner, similar to how a car is. You can plug something in and you know what's wrong with your car. So curious on your thoughts of like what's coming in the future and what's out there right now that you guys might be using.
Yeah, so we're using some AI and some texting platforms. So recruiting is a big one. So as candidates come in, just like a lead, a technician may be your most valuable lead, based on what they can produce in a year. And so we use some AI texting platforms that will kind of vet the candidate. So again, that we're putting our recruiters on the phones with the best candidates, right? Not someone who's just, oh, I have no experience. I've never done this before. I mean, we have that ability to do that. But, if we're looking for seasoned plumbers, well, we want to talk to seasoned plumbers, not some guy that's, interested in getting into the trade. I think there's some use cases there. We're using mostly the call center is where we're using it right now. There's a lot of stuff rolling out. I mean, I think the thermostat angle is an interesting one as well. We haven't dipped into that one yet, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of great things out there that are using AI, and I think AI is such a broad term, right?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
it's not just chat GPT, it's a number of different things where you're basically using logic to make educated guesses, so that we can make the job of the people in the business easier.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And you say AI is such a broad term. And I think that's a problem for a lot of business owners. They hear AI and it's like, oh, I should be using this in my business. But so many people, they don't know what the actual use cases are to make an actual improvement and an impact on their business. So, yes, the call center is part of it. I know there's platforms out there that you can use AI to dispatch where okay, X technician is good at this type of job. Y technician is good at this type of job. And based on their location, AI can dispatch them properly. And I know that's not a perfect science, but there's improvements there. Um, but yeah, even you mentioned like the texting to customers. There's so many different use cases. And I think a lot of business owners get overwhelmed from the get go. And they're just like, where do I even start?
Yeah, and I think that's an important message to people out there. There are tons of things. I always say, I feel old going to any conference nowadays, because it's a bunch of 25-year-old kids running around touting their new AI product or technology or this, that, or the other. And the bad part is there's some really good stuff out there. But I think that we have to be also responsible business owners and understand that trying to take on too much of this, trying to implement every single thing you see out there, is a recipe for disaster, because it's going to be half baked. You're not going to get it all the way done. And then you're going to be like, why am I spending all this money? And you're going to throw it in the trash. To me, it's trying to find the solution that you think can deliver the highest ROI. And sometimes the highest ROI is also correlated with the lowest lift. Like, how hard is this going to be to put in the business? Is it going to be a 6-month project, or do we think we could pull this off, in a month? And so I think rather than jumping into all of these and trying to be trying to be on the leading edge of all of these things, it's like, well, let's take a step back, understand how it's going to help the business, how we could implement it, and how we could put it in effectively, rather than just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall.
Yes. It's funny you say all of that. I had a conversation with a guy. It was the other day, and he was telling me, I want to automate every aspect of my business.
I'm
And I
sure
was
you
like,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, are you sure you want to do that just right from the get-go? there's a crawl, walk, run stage of this where you need to at least get your feet wet, see what's out there, what platforms are working. And also for a business owner, I think it's really important to really vet these platforms. Just like a home service company, homeowners are reading your online reviews. Look at the reviews of these companies. Ask, can I talk to some of your current customers and how they're using it? Because there's a lot of AI companies out there that are 1 to 2 years old. We've been in the automation AI space, specifically for home service companies, for 10 years now. So we know what works with the trades. We know what doesn't work as well. And I just think it's so important for business owners to really ask the right questions. And a lot of people, they don't even know the right questions to ask. The first thing you could ask, can I talk to some of your customers? Or can you show me online reviews? And what are different use cases people are using your product for? So for any business owners who haven't taken the dive into AI at all, what's your advice for them?
I think you need to be investigating it, and you need to be investigating it now. Again, my earlier comments, I don't know that you need to jump in, with both feet, but you need to be having conversations with people like yourself, with, whether it's a thermostat, whether it's this, whether it's that. Like, I think you need to be educating yourself on the power of this stuff because it is powerful, and it can help your business, but you also need to make sure it fits. You need to make sure that the company that you're using is reputable and can do what they say they're going to be able to do. The one thing that I've noticed with technology companies is, can you guys do this? Oh yeah. And then you get
Oh
to
my
go
God.
in and then you get to go in to do it. And they're like, well, I mean, it's on the roadmap in 2027. It's like, well, hold on
Oh,
a second. I thought it could do this today. It's like, yeah, I get that it will be able to do it at
oh.
some point in time. Um, and so I think that's really important, is to understand kind of what it will actually do, and then I think also is being able to adapt your process. So like a lot of these products, they didn't build them. Everybody's process is a little bit different. And so,
Yes.
being flexible and being able to adapt your process to how it might work, to be able to think outside the box a little bit, not, well, this doesn't work like we do it. It's like, well, okay, well, could it? Do we just have to change like a little, piece of something and whatever it is that we do, to make it work? And usually the answer is yes. You just got to think about it and figure out how you can plug a partner, that is doing really good things, how you can plug them into the business.
So glad you said that because, like you said, everyone's process is a little bit different. And when we do demos and discovery calls with people, it's not even necessarily to be super salesy. It's, hey, what are your current processes? Okay, here's how we would implement our solutions into your current processes. Because that's half the battle. You can close a deal, but half the deals might fall apart during onboarding because you can't even get them live. We can wrap up the conversation. I know we've gone through a lot. Any final thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is kind of what I said at the beginning. Like, you need to be in the data. You need to
Yes.
understand what is happening. If you don't know your booking rate right now, like if you don't know what your booking rate was yesterday and what it is month to date, figure it out. Understand what that is because you are losing a lot of money. So many people want to just spend more money in marketing or yell at their digital marketing person about how they're not sending them leads and this, that, and the other. And it's like, more than likely, they're sending you leads. The key is, did you book them? Did you run them? Did you convert them? And you're not going to know that if you're not looking at it on a daily basis. Again, I said the most important report I get each and every day is what was our booking rate. Because the majority of those leads that we either booked or didn't book, we paid for. So if we paid for them, we might as well go give a shot at trying to earn the business. And so if you don't know that, know it. Figure it out right now. There's a way to do it, in whatever CRM you're in. You need to categorize calls correctly. Make sure that you know which ones are coming in, where they're coming in from, why you didn't book them, why you did book them, so on and so forth. If you can get your call center humming, you are going to see unprecedented growth this summer. Hands down, doesn't
Yes.
matter anything else. If you can get your call center dialed in, you will grow. No doubts about it.
Yes.
And the great thing about fixing your call center is you don't have to spend any more money on marketing, meaning that more money is going to pour out of that bottom line. Because if your marketing can stay the same, yet you book more jobs, convert more jobs, ultimately you're going to make more money.
Awesome, Chad. Well, really appreciate you hopping on, having the conversation. You guys are leaders in the space, so anyone listening, Chad, he knows what he's talking about. So really appreciate you hopping on, and appreciate our partnership as well. So
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to connect with me personally, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and consider joining the CSTG arena. As always, keep growing out there.